It's windy today. Hope I don't get rained on. So today, boys and girls, we've got ourselves a story time. So a little introduction to this. As you guys might remember, if you follow the old Instagram or you saw me in anybody else's video, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that, I went to Tampa on what was supposed to be a nice, relaxing 4-day weekend, which turned into this whole complex thing where I had shit to do every single day, and I didn't get to do much relaxing at all, but fun trip. Anyways, that's a side note. So here's the thing, right? Went up to Tampa Friday. Saturday I ended up going up to Jacksonville from Tampa and back again, same day, because it was my very good friend Jasper Chase's going away party because he was moving short notice from from Jacksonville to Atlanta. Of course I couldn't miss that, you know, I was already off, I was already road tripping. So I decided, you know what's a good idea? Drive 200 miles from Tampa to Jacksonville and then drive back that night. Which, you know, it's not the worst drive I've done in terms of just being tired, but wasn't ideal either. So I was in Cujo, the currently dented door Mustang, though she didn't have the door dent at the time. And the first part of this story starts 5 minutes after we left, when we stopped at the gas station to gas up before we headed to Tampa. We gas up, right? And as I'm like literally pulling into the gas station just down the street from Oiderk's place, where the party was, I feel something decidedly wet splash against my foot. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's sure weird. Maybe I spilled a drink or something, and I'm going, I don't remember spilling a drink, but it's like a lot of liquid, right? So I pull into the gas station, and I look at my sock, and sure enough, it's friggin' soaking wet, right? Danny gets her phone and turns her flashlight on and looks in my footwell, and that's when I realize, oh, okay, that's not water, that's not a drink, that's green. I've got a coolant leak inside the car, which can really only mean one thing, right? Heater core. As an aside, it did end up being a heater core, which is currently bypassed because I live in Florida and I don't ever use my heater, and, you know, I can live without it. And I'm sure as hell not tearing my dash apart just to get that thing. So at this point I'm like, okay, shoot, whatever, we're leaking coolant, it's probably not that bad. And then I look under the car and I realize, oh man, there's a puddle of coolant under the car, that's not good. And, you know, I have a nighttime drive across the middle of nowhere, Florida, to get back to the hotel, and I've got a car that's leaking coolant pretty badly. I'm thinking to myself, what are my options here? Option one, stay in Jacksonville for the night, head out in the morning so it's not as sketchy. But there's a problem with this, because that would mean going back to Oiderk's house and facing down everyone. I'm talking Dino Biker, Oiderk, Jasper Chase, Downshift, Redline 87, all these people, and I'd have to roll back and be like, yeah, nope, can't go back on the drive that I thought I was going to do because, yes, the Mustang is leaking coolant. And I may be smart, but I also have pride on the line here, you know, so I'm like, you know what, we're gonna go balls to the wall. I make the snap decision that, you know what, we're gonna head out. If the car starts overheating right away, we'll turn around and go back to Jacksonville because I'm not gonna blow my motor over this. But, you know, if it's not overheating, if we're just leaking coolant, whatever, we'll just top off coolant on the way. So I buy a jug of coolant and I continue on my merry way. So I'm going along, and fortunately the car is not overheating. But then the next part of the trip, the much sketchier part that was just made additionally sketchy by the fact that the car was at risk of dumping coolant and overheating in the middle of nowhere at night. We're passing through, it's like around the Ocala National Forest, right? Essentially you've got all these little towns, and with a lot of nothing in between. These towns are so small they don't even have street lights, right? And there's something about Florida, okay? There's something about small towns in Florida. There's just a vibe, you know? It's not a good one. It's not a vibe you want to be around too long. Especially not when you're not from, you're not from there and everybody knows everybody. and you're passing through in the middle of the night, and they're looking at you all suspicious, and you're looking at them like, I hope you don't axe murder me, you know? So I'm cutting through this town, and the first sketchy thing that happens, right, and it's just like, yep, nope, typical Florida shit, or Backwoods Florida shit, is I'm going along, there's this car that's like tailgating me, right? And we're talking through a forest, like blind turns. I don't know my way around the area. It's pitch black. The headlights on the Mustang are not, you know, crazy bright, so I can't really see that well. I'm already going, it's like a 35 mile an hour road, right? And I'm already going 45. Like, I'm already pushing it for me, for roads I don't know at night. This car is like up my ass to an extent that, like, I can't, they're tailgating me so bad that I can't even see their headlights in my rear view, you know? They're close. They're like right on me. Like, if I brake check them, they're gonna hit me, right? And I'm just like, shoot, like there's nowhere for me to pull off, because off to the side of the road is just trees. Like, there's not even enough space to pull off. Not to mention I don't really want to pull off, because that's a good way to get the aforementioned axe murder happen to you. And it's a road like this with a double yellow, and like I don't want to cross into incoming traffic on a blind turn at night in Backwoods, Florida, to reiterate. So finally this dude freaking hauls ass passes on the double yellow through a turn, and I'm just thinking like, man, I hope this dude doesn't hit somebody, right? I go along for 5 minutes, and that's when I realize, I can see a single street lamp, right? Like up ahead where that little bridge is. There's a single solitary street lamp, and the car's parked under it, and the person is outside of the car. And my immediate thought is just like, okay, he's got a gun, he's gonna stop us, he's gonna shoot at us, we're like, this is gonna get real hairy, right? Fortunately, none of that happened, because I am a paranoid delusional fucker. Are you really a cobra? You might be. So I'm like semi-freaking out, but fortunately the moment passes, and I'm like, okay. And for the next, you know, half hour, I'm checking my rear view, waiting for this guy to pop up again and you know, possibly still axe murder me. So at this point, it starts getting weird, right? I'm driving along, and Danny's in the passenger seat, and she's kind of like, she's a little freaked out by this herself, you know? She's a horror movie buff, so she's seen what can happen with this kind of stuff, right? Like, I'm just waiting for a motherfucker in a Jason Voorhees mask to just pop out and be like, you guys are dead now. You know, lay down some spike strips or some shit. So at one point, we're driving along, and she goes, there's a car on fire, and I'm like, what? And, you know, I'm focused on the road pretty good. And I'm like, I don't see a car on fire. There's no car on fire on the road. And then she goes, no, look in that field. There's a car on fire. And this was some straight up like, I don't know, the hills have eyes shit or something. Because I look, and sure enough, there's a big, like, you know, probably 10-acre field, right? With like like a barn that's like halfway falling down. In this field, there is a hulk of a car on fire, just on fire in the middle of the field, and there's just like a group of like 6 or 7 guys just standing around the car, drinking beer with like baseball bats and shit, just watching the car burn. Because honestly, I guess, what else are you gonna do out there, right? There's probably not even a bar in the whole town. I mean, we're talking real middle of nowhere, like probably a population of like 100, if that. It's basically just some houses and like a general store. And yeah, they're just standing around this car fire, and then they're just like watching us drive by because my car's loud as fuck. Okay, you know what's going on now is they're gonna like radio the crooked cops in the town, and the cop's gonna pull us over. Like, I think if there would have been a cop that like tried to pull me over, I think I would have called 911. I think I would have done like all those Facebook like share things where they're like, watch out for people that are, you know, the fake cops that are like pulling people over, impersonating an officer, pulling people over just so they can like kidnap them and stuff. Because at that point, I would be so sketched out by that. I would not even assume that it's someone impersonating a cop. I would just think that it's an actual cop that's like a cannibal or something. And you know what? If you happen to be watching this from a small town, I am sorry. There's some weird shit going on in these places. I guarantee it. So anyways, we make it to I-75 finally, right? And I stop for gas once I get to 75 because they're like, you know, because at that point, I'm so sketched out that a truck stop seems really welcoming. I mean, the thing is, like, the whole time, I had bought 1 Red Bull in Jacksonville, and that was more than a 1 Red Bull drive, if you know what I mean. So, like, I was sipping this Red Bull, like, rationing the Red Bull, you know, like, okay, 2-3 minutes have passed, I can take a little sip. Plus, Red Bull cans are too small anyways. I should have gotten like a Monster or something, but I wasn't thinking. I like Red Bull. I'm like that, you know. Yeah, anyways, we finally made it back to our hotel at like 1 in the morning, and that's pretty much where the story concludes, because the next day I went to the Ren Fair, which is, you can see the video of that on Shade Tree Surgeon's channel, and Josh's channel. Got my face painted like an owl, kissed a unicorn, threw some knives really badly, which I was pretty embarrassed about, I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, that was it. That's the story of how nothing actually happened, but I got really freaked out. Holy crap. That's the story of how I got really freaked out driving through small towns in the middle of nowhere, Florida, in the dead of night with a car that was leaking coolant like a motherfucker and about to overheat. Alright guys, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Woo!